Discover the incredible heartwarming journey of healing after my son's unexpected passing at 31. Sarah thought she knew heartbreak. Nothing could compare, she believed, to the sorrow she carried as a single mother, toiling day in and day out as a schoolteacher in their quaint Midwestern town. But that changed in an instant when her only son, Jack, was taken from her too soon. 31 years filled with laughter and love unraveled in mere moments, an aching void left in his absence. Known for his gentle nature and tireless commitment to the community, Jack was a brilliant light, a beacon for veterans and the less fortunate. His life had been one of giving. And then it was just gone as the weight of grief pressed down. Sarah felt herself drowning. Each step away from her home felt like climbing the steepest hill, her heart heavy with what-ifs. She picked up Jack's old baseball mitt, now gathering dust, and remembered him tossing the ball in their backyard, his laughter echoing in her ears. Now it felt like a grave marker, a harsh reminder of what had been torn away. Tears stung her cheeks as she pondered what it meant to exist in a world that continued to spin, indifferent to her loss. Family gatherings turned even more complicated. Her brother, Dave, once a vibrant artist bursting with dreams, had become a shadow lost to regret and circumstance. The tension between them simmered just beneath the surface, their shared childhood stained with deep-seated resentments and unsaid apologies. As Sarah scribbled notes and thoughts for Jack's memorial, the thought of facing Dave felt like a weight too heavy to carry. Just when she thought the sorrow enveloping her might crush her spirit entirely, a letter arrived. It was from Jack's mentor, a surprise she never expected. His words peeled back the layers of grief, revealing Jack's secret efforts to support veterans re-entering society. Jack had poured his heart into helping those battling their demons. In that moment, hope flickered to life. Could she keep his legacy flowing? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With renewed purpose, Sarah reached out to Dave. They both stood on the precipice of their grief, but didn't he know how to bridge the gap that had sucked them into silence? Together, they enkindled the idea of a community outreach project in Jack's name. The plan was to support veterans, to offer them the love and care Jack had given freely. But as they began, the stigma around mental health loomed large. The project wasn't just a way to honor Jack. It was a battleground filled with struggles and heartfelt conversations. Yet, as hope surged, darkness threatened. Dave wrestled with feeling inadequate. A lingering specter from their past whispered doubt into his ear. Was he worthy of standing beside Sarah, building something meaningful? Just as they prepared to unveil their vision to the community, calamity struck, revealing societal barriers that tested their fragile bond more than ever. Would they tether their destinies to their pain? Or could they use this firestorm to carve a new path forward? The answer was hanging in the balance, shrouded in uncertainty, urging them to confront their respective demons once and for all. The air hung thick with tension as Sarah and Dave prepared for the first community meeting about their outreach project. The modest town hall, usually a place of laughter and debate, felt like an interrogation room now. Sarah shifted in her seat, her fingers toying with the corners of the pamphlets they had printed, promotional guides filled with Jack's smiling face and quotes from veterans he had helped. She wanted desperately to project strength, to honor Jack's legacy, but the weight of doubt gnawed at her. People trickled in slowly, some familiar faces, others new. A local librarian, a kindly woman named Grace, greeted them with soft eyes. "It's brave of you both to start this," she said, her voice a gentle reassurance. But as she spoke, Sarah's thoughts drifted. What if no one cared? What if their initiative fell flat? Each worry felt like a nail driven deeper into her resolve. Dave stood at the front of the room, clutching the edges of the table as if it were the only thing holding him together. She wasn't the only one who sensed his struggle. Anyone who looked at Dave could tell he was a man wrestling with his own ghosts. Thank you all for coming," he stumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. We're here to talk about Jack, and what we can do to help veterans." His words were met with a smattering of applause. Sarah felt a flicker of hope as the audience nodded. But the silence that followed felt like an abyss. She exchanged glances with Dave, who looked more pale than usual. After a few moments, an elderly gentleman raised his hand. You know, he began, his voice shaky yet firm, back in my day we didn't talk about our problems. We just dealt with them. What can this project possibly do that we haven't? The room caught its breath. Sarah's heart sank, but she couldn't let the negativity derail this momentum. Spurred on by an impulse, she stepped forward. Jack didn't want anyone to feel alone, she said, her voice strong but tender. He worked tirelessly to make veterans feel valued, understood, and supported. This isn't just about talking. It's about building a community that cares. She saw flickers of understanding in the eyes that met hers. Conversations flowed, a mix of skepticism and curiosity, until suddenly, the room buzzed with voices sharing stories about soldiers lost and battles fought both inside and out. But just as she thought they had ignited a flicker of awareness, a dark thought crept in, a voice that reminded her that maybe not everyone would get it. Would they be seen as intruders in a community that had harshly buried its pain? She glanced at Dave, whose shoulders slumped, burdened by this same question. In the middle of this unfolding chaos, a young woman slowly raised her hand. Her eyes shone with unshed tears. I lost my brother who served. I wish we had something like this. I wish I could have talked about it. The room went quiet, each listener drawn into her heartbreaking reality. There it was, the reason behind their mission. Everyone nodded, feeling the weight of shared grief and the hope for healing as they wrapped up the meeting. Uncertainty still foamed at the edges, threatening to drown their budding initiative. Dave caught Sarah's eye, an unspoken question lingering between them. Were they ready to face the uphill battle of dismantling years of silence? As they cleared the hall, Sarah felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. The path ahead was still fraught with challenges, but for the first time, she felt a shared purpose ignite the space between them. Would they be able to transform this initial spark of understanding into a lasting change that honored Jack's spirit? The lingering question hung in the air, urging them, pushing them forward into uncharted territory, where heartache could meet hope. The next few days passed in a blur of activity and reflection. Sarah found herself replaying the meeting in her mind, those vulnerable moments resonating long after the last chair had been pushed in. Each smile, every trembling voice, clawed at her heart. It was clear people were aching for a connection, a chance to speak about loss without fear of judgment. She was at home one evening, poring over the notes from the meeting, attempting to gauge exactly how they could build on that initial spark. The bright glow of the lamp on the table threw soft shadows across her notes, illuminating phrases like community support and shared stories. As she closed her eyes, a thought surfaced: what if they created a space for those who had suffered loss to come together? What do you think? She asked Dave over the phone later that night. He was in his garage, his voice muffled by the sound of tools and metal clanking. What if we set up a monthly gathering? A safe place where people can share their stories? We could call it the Circle or something, provide a platform for healing. There was a pregnant pause on the line. Sarah could imagine him leaning against a cold workbench, the gears in his head turning slowly. Yeah, that could work. But it's a big step. We need to be prepared for anything. Anything, Sarah echoed softly, feeling the weight of his words. It wouldn't be easy. There were no guarantees that participants would come or that healing would take place. But the flicker of hope hadn't dimmed. Rather, it had grown into something stronger, something almost tangible. The following week, they announced their first gathering in the town newsletter, accompanied by a heartfelt message sharing Jack's vision. They set an inviting tone, emphasizing the openness and acceptance they hoped to cultivate. With every click to send out the email, Sarah could feel an electric thrill rush through her veins. They were stepping out boldly. The day of the first meeting arrived. The town hall felt different. It buzzed with warmth instead of tension, ready to embrace the honest conversations that had long been stifled. Sarah noticed a few families coming in with familiar faces. Grace was there. She gave Sarah an encouraging nod, and Sarah felt a swell of gratitude. Dave stood at the front, his demeanor noticeably calm. "Welcome, everyone," he said, a steady confidence replacing his earlier hesitation. "This is a space for you to be heard, to share if you want, and lean on each other. We are all here for the same reason: to honor those we've lost." The atmosphere hummed with a mix of apprehension and expectancy. Sarah's heart raced as she watched the first woman stand up, her hands trembling at her sides. "I'm here because I lost my husband last year. He always tried to share his struggles, but I didn't know how to support him." Others nodded, their eyes reflecting a deep understanding. One by one, stories unfurled like fragile petals opening, each voice a thread weaving them together in shared experience. Dave caught Sarah's eye from across the room, a small smile breaking the seriousness of his face. It was a moment brimming with possibility, a fragile yet unbreakable bond forming where once there had been silence as the night wore on. Laughter mingled with tears, and amidst the stories, something began to shift. Sarah felt a warmth spread through the room, a sense of healing, a warmth that mirrored what Jack had always wanted for them. But just as hope bloomed, a somber undertone lingered. How could they sustain this sense of community? Would the momentum last beyond this night? As they wrapped up, the question hung in the air, both exhilarating and daunting. It was clear they had ignited something powerful, but they also needed to guard it fiercely. Sarah glanced at Dave, both uncertain and excited about what lay ahead. Would the community embrace their mission fully? Or would fear pull them back into their shells? The path was unfolding before them, but the journey was just beginning. The weeks that followed the first gathering felt like a whirlwind. The energy from that night lingered in the air, affecting every corner of Sarah's life. She found herself rearranging her schedule, making time for planning and reaching out to more community members. Text messages flooded in words of encouragement, tentative inquiries about the next meeting, and stories from people who for so long had kept their pain locked away. One afternoon, as she sifted through her emails while sitting on her porch, an unexpected message caught her eye. It was from a woman named Linda, someone she had never met. Her words were simple but poignant. "I heard about the circle and would like to join. I lost my son last year." He was only 31. The word struck Sarah with a jolt. Losing a child was a heartbreak too deep to fathom, yet Linda reached out, perhaps hoping to find that delicate thread of connection, a sign that she was not alone. With a deep breath, Sarah responded, "Dear Linda, we would be honored to have you join us. We're here to support each other through this journey." As she pressed send, she felt tied to Linda's pain, the invisible string of shared heartache drawing them closer. Maybe this was what Jack would have wanted, to create a web of love woven through loss. The day of the second meeting arrived, and anticipation bubbled within Sarah. She arrived early to set up, placing chairs in a circle, adjusting the small flower arrangement in the center, just like last time. Each detail felt meaningful. As the clock approached the starting hour, familiar faces began to fill in, each with their own story etched behind their eyes. As she glanced around, Sarah noticed the once familiar nervousness in everyone's expressions had gradually shifted into a sense of belonging. When Linda walked in, her presence felt like a flurry of sadness cloaked in hope. Hesitant yet determined, she took a seat, and Sarah felt a rush of empathy for her. No one should have to endure that kind of loss alone. Dave started the meeting with his warm demeanor, welcoming everyone. "We're here together for a reason. This space is ours and every voice matters. Let us keep nurturing it." With that, the circle began to open up again. Stories poured out, new names mingled with familiar ones. Someone shared about their struggles during holiday seasons. Another spoke of the unique quirks that their loved one had, stirring laughter and smiles while memories flowed like sunshine breaking through clouds. And then Linda stood, her courage towering among the vulnerability around her. "I never thought I would be here," she began, her voice quaking slightly. "But I realized standing in my grief was isolating me even more. My son, he loved the simplest things in life. Every little moment held magic for him. I want to remember that magic." Tears streamed down her face, but with them came a glimmer of light, a beacon in the darkness. As the room filled with nods of understanding, the atmosphere changed. Empowered by their mutual support, the community was forging connections, learning to be champions of each other's stories. But Sarah felt a twinge of worry ripple through her. Was this momentary bond strong enough to withstand time? What happened when the meetings ended and everyday life returned? The fear of backsliding into isolation crept in. Would they have the courage to continue reaching out? As Linda returned to her seat, one thought echoed in Sarah's mind: she had to find a way to secure this delicate thread woven from heartache and healing. What if we started a group online? she suggested aloud, her voice heavy with hope. A way to stay connected between our meetings? The murmurs of agreement surged around the room, but just as they began to discuss ideas, Sarah caught a glimpse of a man standing in the back, tall and tense, clearly debating whether to step forward. She felt her heart race. What story would he bring to the circle? Would he add to their growing tapestry of shared experience, or break the sound of the heavy silence that surrounded him? The anticipation in the room thickened. Sarah's eyes remained fixed on the man, longing to see his pain untangle with theirs. But would he take that brave step forward? As the moment hung in the air, she held her breath, waiting for the mystery to unfold. The silence stretched taut, and the air thick with expectation. Everyone in the circle held their breath, eyes flickering from the man at the back to Sarah's anxious face. She felt her heart hammer in her chest, unsure if the man was ready to share. He shifted slightly, eyes darting nervously, as if weighing the gravity of what he might say. Finally, with a deep breath, the man stepped forward, taking his place in the circle. He was tall and built like an oak tree, yet there was a delicate vulnerability in his stance that belied his strong exterior. When he spoke, his voice was low but steady. "My name is Tom." He paused, glancing around at the faces that mirrored his apprehension and compassion. "I lost my daughter, Sophia, just a few months ago. She was only 28. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Sarah felt her heart ache with empathy. Young loss was a devastating wound. Tom's eyes shone with unshed tears as he continued. "It feels like there's this gaping hole where she used to be. Every day feels like I'm stumbling in the dark." Linda reached out, placing her hand over Tom's. "You're not alone in that. We're here for you," she said softly, her own pain threading through her words. Tom's expression softened a little, as if he found strength in their shared experiences. "I was hesitant to come. I didn't think anyone could understand how I felt." It's like he struggled to find the right words. "It's like the world moved on while I'm frozen in this moment. I was tired of feeling invisible." The room fell quiet, the weight of his confession settling in, resonating with everyone gathered. Sarah could see their eyes glistening with their own stories of loss. She felt the chorus of pain unite. "It's so easy to feel like a ghost in your own life," she replied gently. "But being here isn't weakness. It's a step towards healing." Encouraged by the warmth of the circle, Tom shared small glimpses of Sophia's life. He spoke of her laughter, how she would dance around the kitchen while cooking, and how she had a knack for turning the mundane into a grand adventure. Even simpler things like grocery shopping. As he spoke, smiles broke through the edges of his sorrow, lighting up the room with memories that felt almost contagious. Laughter fluttered tentatively from those present as they remembered their own loved ones in similarly mundane, yet cherished moments. It felt like a reclaiming of the joy that sorrow threatened to steal. "I want to celebrate her life," Tom confessed, his voice thick with emotion. "I want to remember that sunshine. But how do I do that when my heart feels so heavy?" "By sharing her story," Sarah suggested. "Let us celebrate her here with you. Every detail matters." The group erupted with encouragement as they rallied around Tom. They shared ideas, creating a scrapbook of memories, dedicating a part of their gatherings to remember their loved ones, or even setting up a community event in memory of those they lost. It felt like a whirlwind of hopes and dreams weaving together. Tom smiled faintly, grateful for this newfound solidarity. "I didn't expect this today," he admitted, feeling the warmth of acceptance wrap around him. "I thought I'd just come and sit in silence." "Silence doesn't have to be lonely," Linda replied, her voice warm. "Together, we can create something beautiful from the ashes of our grief." But amidst the rush of creativity and connection, Sarah felt the familiar twinge of fear. Would this sense of community endure once they left? Would they all seek each other out in the clutter of daily life? She knew the challenges would be immense, but that thought alone ignited the spark within her. Just as they began to brainstorm some more community engagement ideas, a few other members chimed in, bringing energy and excitement to the room. Yet, as she looked around, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something more profound was brewing beneath the surface. It was more than just shared loss. There was a commitment forming, a promise to carry fragments of one another's loved ones even through the storm. Taking a breath, Sarah summoned her courage. "What if we created an event to honor our loved ones?" she said, her pulse quickening. What if we gathered the whole community together? The immediate buzz of excitement washed over them, but in the corner of the room, Tom's expression turned contemplative. Would he find the strength to participate? What would that event mean for him, both a risk and a tribute? As the imaginations in the room ignited, Sarah realized their paths were intertwining in unexpected ways. But how would this new journey unfold? And when the meeting ended, would they all be ready to step into the light? With that question lingering in the air, Sarah could feel the weight of possibility pressing down on her. What awaited them was uncertain, but she knew deep down, they were on the brink of something transformative together. The energy in the room buzzed, that sweet blend of anticipation and nervousness hanging in the air. Sarah glanced around at the faces, all lit with hope. Each person seemed to carry their own story, a tapestry of grief mingled with dreams of brighter days. Tom, still processing the encouragement, shifted his gaze from one person to the next, slowly absorbing their collective warmth. "Okay," he said, his voice steadying as determination took root. "If we're doing this, I want to do it right. Sophia deserves that." The spark in his eyes sent ripples of compassion through the group. They could feel it too. The promise of a shared event was transforming. Linda leaned forward, her enthusiasm infectious. "Why not organize a life celebration? Something out in the park with food, music, maybe even a memorial walk?" Her eyes glistened with excitement as she spoke. "We could set up tables with pictures, share stories. Let people talk about their loved ones too." Encouragement flowed. Melissa, who had been quiet till then, chimed in, "I love that idea. We could invite the whole community. Let them come and remember to support each other." Her voice trembled slightly, but the quiet confidence was unmistakable. It felt monumental, all of them, one heart, one purpose. Sarah's heart soared as the plans began to solidify. They all needed this, a day to honor, to remember, to heal. The thrill was undeniable, but beneath it all, a tight knot of anxiety lingered. Would they be able to pull it off? Would anyone show up? As if reading her mind, Tom broke in, "We'll reach out. I'll talk to local businesses. See if they'd be willing to lend a hand. We can make this happen." His voice grew stronger, a quiet promise that infused Sarah with renewed energy. But then Tom hesitated, looking down at his hands, calloused with the weight of unshared grief. "I just can't help but wonder if I want tea break when the day comes. What if it's too much?" His words hung heavy in the air, triggering a moment of somber understanding. The excitement dimmed slightly, reality sinking in. "Maybe it will be hard," Sarah said gently, stepping forward. "But it's okay to break. It's okay to cry. That's part of this journey. We're all here for that." The group nodded, the resolve strengthening again. "Think about it this way," Linda added. "Every tear shed is a tribute to the love we had for those we lost. And every laugh, it keeps their spirit alive." Comforted, Tom found a small smile. "You all make it sound less scary. I appreciate this." After some more brainstorming, they settled on a date, everyone pledging to contribute in whatever way they could. The air filled with talk of decorations, food, and potentially hiring a small band. Ideas bounced like vibrant confetti, and with each passing minute, a sense of purpose began to envelop them. Just as the tide of excitement surged, Sarah turned to Tom. "How about we start by sharing memories? I'd love to hear more about Sophia. What was she like?" The question hung, a gentle nudge to open old wounds into something beautiful. Tom took a deep breath, the weight of her words settling over him like a blanket. "She was a light, the kind that made every day special. Just last week, I found a recipe of hers for a carrot cake she loved to make. I've never tried cooking it myself." His eyes glistened, laughter edging into his voice as he continued. "She said the secret was loving what you do. If that's true, then let us make it together," Melissa interrupted, her voice vibrant with warmth. "We'll bring the ingredients to the event and bake it in her honor." Laughter bubbled from the group, the bittersweet memory bringing a pinch of joy amidst the sorrow as their planning continued. Sarah realized they weren't simply creating an event. They were crafting a lifeline to each other. Each provided a piece of comfort in this fragile dance of hope. But as the meeting came to a close, and they prepared to say their goodbyes, a new thought gnawed at Sarah. Would they all really carry this momentum out of the room? Would they all meet again? With lingering questions in her heart, she watched as Tom lingered by the door, his expression one of determination and uncertainty. She felt the pressing need to reach out, to ensure he knew he didn't have to face this journey alone. And just before Tom stepped out, he turned to her. "What happens next, Sarah? After this event?" In that moment she knew as much as they had planned for what was to come. The real journey was just beginning. How would they navigate it together now? "Let us find out," she replied, her heart racing with exhilaration and fear. They still had miles to go on this path of healing, and deep down, she sensed it was going to be a challenging ride. But as the door closed behind Tom, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the start of a larger story. What other surprises awaited them on the road ahead? The next few days blurred together in a whirlwind of planning and emotion. Sarah woke each morning with a mix of anticipation and dread swirling inside her. Each meeting with the group felt like a small step forward, but the underlying worry never left her mind. Would they really be able to capture the essence of Sophia? Would this celebration of life bring comfort instead of pain? She reluctantly returned to her routine, but conversations with Tom and Melissa played in her mind like a soothing melody. They had all agreed to meet at the park that weekend to scout locations and lay out plans together. The thought of it filled Sarah with nerves. She pictured the empty park and her heart raced. What if no one showed up? As she prepared herself for the outing, her phone buzzed. It was Tom. "Hey, just checking in, you ready for today?" His casual tone helped ease the weight in her chest just a little. She replied with a simple, "Yeah, excited to see everyone." When they arrived, the park was alive with vibrant colors. Butterflies danced among blooming flowers, children laughed in the distance, and the sun bathed everything in a warm glow. It was the perfect place for healing if only it could reflect their hopes. Soon Linda and Melissa arrived, bounding up with big smiles. "Let us check out the pavilion first," Melissa suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. As they walked, ideas fluttered from person to person. "There could be tables along the path for pictures," Linda said, gesturing animatedly. "And how about string lights? I can bring some. It would be magical." Tom grabbed Sarah's hand, drawing her closer. "What about a dedicated space for sharing stories? A place where people can feel safe to remember?" His voice was soft but laden with urgency, understanding the importance of such a space. Sarah nodded, feeling the lump in her throat grow big. "That sounds perfect. We need to honor those memories. It's what this is all about." The energy started to take form, wrapping around each of them like a gentle embrace. Each laugh and suggestion reminded Sarah that they were in this together. Everyone was hurting, but they were also healing. As they wandered further into the park, they stumbled upon a beautiful old oak tree, its branches extending wide as if inviting them to lean in and share their hearts. "This has to be the spot," Tom declared. The group gathered around it, visualizing people sitting there laughing and crying, sharing their drives of love and loss. As ideas flowed freely, Sarah realized that the knot in her stomach was loosening. They began to talk about Sophia's favorite songs, about the people they wanted to honor. Each shared laugh, each tear, felt like another brick taken away from the wall around their hearts. But just as hope began to swell, a shadow flickered in Sarah's mind. What if, she hesitated, what if someone doesn't want to share? What if some people show up just to mourn? Would that complicate things further? Tom noticed her retreating. "That's okay too," he said, his voice steady. "We make space for everything. It's about honoring our feelings, even when they're mixed." Sarah looked into his eyes, seeing the strength there. Maybe he was right. It was okay not to have all the answers. It was okay to be messy. They spent the rest of the day discussing the finer details and sharing stories, laughter punctuating the moments of silence. Yet, as they walked away from the oak tree, a stirring feeling settled deep within Sarah. She realized this wouldn't be a one-time event. This journey they were on, bound by love and grief, would continue long after the last song faded away. Hand in hand, she and Tom headed back toward the park entrance, her mind racing. What if this connects us to something bigger? She wondered aloud, wanting to break open the possibilities. Tom paused, turning to her. "What do you mean?" As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light throughout the trees, Sarah took a deep breath. What if this isn't just about Sophia? What if we discover something transformative together? A spark ignited in Tom's eyes. And that's just the beginning of our story. The weight of that potential hung in the air, inviting them to explore what lay ahead. What could emerge from their shared grief? And how far would it take them on this road of healing together? The following week felt infinite yet fleeting, as if time danced both slowly and swiftly. Sarah found herself oscillating between days filled with enthusiasm and nights weighed down by quiet sorrow. The mixture of anticipation for the memorial and the dread of confronting the gravity of their loss settled deep in her bones. Memories of Sophia flooded her thoughts. Road trips with the windows down, late-night talks over ice cream, shared secrets that felt sacred. They met again at the park, buzzing with ideas and an urgent need to create something beautiful. The air was crisp and the sky a bright blue, almost too perfect to hold their grief. As they gathered under the ancient oak tree, a familiar sense of camaraderie enveloped them. Tom, with his easy grin, looked at Sarah, and she felt that same spark of hope she had the last time. "All right, what do you all think about using the tree as a central focus?" Melissa suggested, her voice bursting with enthusiasm. "We could hang photos from its branches. DB, like Sophia's right there with us." Linda clapped her hands together. "Yes, and I can create a memory board where everyone can pin notes or drawings. It can become a living piece of art honoring her life." What should have felt painful instead felt like a balm to Sarah's heart. The vision they were sculpting together became a tapestry woven with delicate threads of healing. Laughter punctuated the air as pictures were exchanged and ideas bounced off each other like brightness sparking in the dark. Each suggestion, each shared story, added layers of depth to their plans. But amid the laughter, Sarah's mind slipped into a shadow that enveloped her. "What if it doesn't feel right?" she murmured, her bravado wavering. "What if it feels forced? What if Sophia wouldn't have liked it?" Tom reached out, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's okay to be scared, Sarah. But remember, this isn't just about making it perfect. It's about honoring the journey." His words were an anchor for her swirling emotions. The group fell momentarily silent, absorbing the weight of his statement. Then, as if a gust of fresh air had blown through, each of them began to share how they had imagined Sophia in those moments, silly anecdotes, bittersweet truths. Sarah realized she no longer felt isolated in her worries. They were all afraid, all navigating the uncharted waters of their grief together. As the sun descended, casting a warm glow over the park, Sarah's heart swelled with acceptance. What if it didn't have to be perfect? What if genuine love was all that mattered? The thought echoed in her mind like a mantra, bringing her comfort. "I think," she finally said, resolve building within her, "that we should invite everyone to express themselves however they feel. We need to allow space for both laughter and tears. After all, that's what makes the memories real." Tom's eyes lit up. Yes, just like Sophia would want. A mix of joy and remembrance. As they walked back to their cars, the atmosphere felt charged with possibility. For the first time in a while, Sarah felt a lightness around her that had been absent since the loss. This celebration wouldn't erase her pain, but perhaps it could transform it into something meaningful. Suddenly, a thought struck her. What if we invited people to share their biggest memories with Sophia in a podcast format during the event? It could be a way to share stories even with those who can't attend. Tom turned to her, excitement shimmering in his expression. That could spark something incredible. What if we create a community, sharing these stories with the world? As they reached their cars, Sarah's heart raced at the idea. Imagine connecting with others who had lost loved ones, sharing joy, healing, and understanding. This was just the beginning, but she could feel the shift and opening of something deeper and richer. Stepping into her car, Sarah gazed at the park, seeing more than what it was: a place of healing, a cradle of memories, and perhaps a launchpad for something more. What if this journey was not merely about Sophia, but about connecting lives toward discovering light through their darkest times? She smiled at Tom, who stood nearby, excitement palpable. "You ready for this?" he asked, eyes sparkling with potential. "More than ever," Sarah replied, determination igniting within her. And as they drove off into the twilight, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much bigger adventure. But what would they uncover along the way? The week leading up to the memorial felt like a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah found herself in a constant state of anticipation, mixing hope with lingering sadness. She had spent countless hours planning the event, each detail a reminder of the joy Sophia had brought into their lives. Yet, with every photo file she opened or story she prepared, the ache of loss grew sharper. The day before the memorial arrived, and Sarah gathered everyone at her house for one last meeting. The air was thick with excitement, yet a palpable weight hung over them all. As they arranged chairs in her living room, she glanced around at her friends Tom, Melissa, Linda, and others. Each one had a story to share, a piece of Sophia they kept close to their hearts. "We did it," Sarah said softly, her voice barely sounding above a whisper. "All the plans are set and it looks beautiful." But she paused, heart thudding in her chest. But is it enough? Will anyone feel what we felt with her? Melissa reached over, placing a gentle hand on Sarah's. "It will be enough, Sarah. Sophia's spirit is in all of us, even in the moments of laughter and tears. The love we share is what counts." Tom nodded, his gaze steady. "This isn't about perfection. It's about honoring a life well lived, celebrating all the richness she brought to us." Sarah could feel tears brim at the corners of her eyes. What if no one shows up? What if we fail her in some way? Linda responded quickly, "You must remember, Sarah, that this isn't just about the venue or the decorations. It's about community support and connection. Sophia touched so many people. It's not about how many are here. It's about every single soul that comes to remember her." Taking a deep breath, Sarah filled her lungs with air, feeling the strength in her friend's words sink in. She wiped a few stray tears away. "You're right. We're creating something real to hold our love and grief together. It's not just for us. It's for everyone who cared about her." As they started to finalize the details, Sarah felt a sense of ease beginning to wash over her, a unifying bond, an understanding that no matter the outcome, this was a step towards healing. They shared stories in the warmth of her living room, laughter breaking the somber mood, a reminder of the brightness Sophia had brought into their lives. Later that night, as Sarah prepared for bed, her phone buzzed with a message from a childhood friend she hadn't seen in years. "Can't wait to be at the memorial tomorrow. Just wanted you to know you're all in my thoughts." A wave of warmth surged through her. Yes, this was it. People cared. They were ready to come together. The next morning, Sarah awoke to the first rays of sunlight filtering through her window, illuminating the room with a soft golden hue. As she prepared for the day, a concoction of nervous energy and hope simmered within her. When she arrived at the park, it was alive with activity. Laughter mingled with the rustle of branches, and people were already gathering under the old oak tree. Sarah's heart fluttered with joy and trepidation, but as she looked around at familiar faces, she felt the power of their collective grief and love. The moment was about to unfold, yet a nagging thought lingered in her mind. What if she wasn't ready for the feelings this day would unearth? And just as she took a deep breath and stepped forward, embracing the crowd, someone unexpected appeared at the edge of the gathering, stirring curiosity and doubt in Sarah's heart. Could this be the moment everything changed? Sarah stood at the edge of the crowd, her heart racing as she gazed at familiar faces surrounded by swollen trees casting meaningful shadows. Each smile, each longing glance brought to life the memories of Sophia, her vibrant laughter and zest for life shining even in this moment of grief. But an unexpected flicker of anxiety ran through her when she noticed a figure lingering at the back, an unfamiliar yet intriguing presence. Who were they? Would they alter the fragile atmosphere of hope and remembrance they had nurtured together? The park transformed into a sanctuary dotted with decorations, every detail a tribute to Sophia. Photos hung from branches, laughter lingered in the air, and an unspoken promise of connection knitted everyone together. Sarah welcomed the attendees one by one, each one embracing a dreadful yet comforting kinship through their shared loss. It was Tom who broke through the noise first, his powerful voice slicing through the buzz of anxiety. "Welcome, everybody. Today we gather not just as individuals, but as a powerful community bound by love and grief." The applause scattered butterflies through Sarah's stomach. Life was blooming where only shadow had lived. With every spoken memory of Sophia, the tone shifted. Stories flowed. Laughter over baking disasters, tears over lost moments, and shared victories in the tiniest of memories. Each revelation involved everyone deeper into a web of sensitivity, reinforcing the essence of the cherished bonds they needed now more than ever. Once rooted in sorrow, joy and healing began to blossom. But the flicker remained. The man in the distance, a stranger still watching them. Overcome with curiosity, it pushed Sarah out towards him. "Are you okay?" she asked. Sensing his hesitance, he turned, revealing a soft face marked by visible grief. I am just here to remember my sister. She should be here. His voice trembled, a cascade of emotions washing over words. Instantly, Sarah recognized that look, the same one reflected in her own eyes not too long ago. You're welcome to share her story, to honor her with us, she offered, hoping he might find solace among their gathering. He glanced toward the gathering, then back to her. I didn't know if I was allowed to intrude. No intrusions here, Sarah said resolutely. We're all sharing our pain and our love. It would mean a lot. We're all family now, just a bit wounded. He stepped forward, vulnerability leading the way, and linked his arm through hers. Together they returned to the crowd. What began as uncertainty had transformed, creating a bridge reaching from isolation to belonging, a living tapestry of shared grief. As he addressed the group, sweet memories of his sister soon flowed from his lips, her smile, her fierce love for family, and her ambition to make every moment unforgettable. What I miss most is her laughter, the way she always found joy in her struggles, he said. And in that instant, not just his emotions, but the essence of everyone's hearts intermingled. Sarah felt the undeniable shift and warmth in the air, laughter mixing with tears flowing like rain on parched earth. As he spoke, Sarah felt joyful goosebumps flood through her, anxiousness replaced by certainty. This was healing. Every shared note rang true that day. When the event came to a close, everyone gathered by the majestic oak tree to release floating lanterns, illuminating the darkened sky above. Tom stood beside Sarah, both radiating a sense of accomplishment. We did it, he murmured, awash in gratitude. She nodded, wiping away tears laughingly, a mix of joy and relief. The badgering fear slipped away. This wasn't an end but a beautiful beginning. From that day forward, the memories drawn from grief birthed connections stronger than ever imagined. Sarah envisioned a community where stories flowed freely, alongside nurturing understanding. Beyond this heartbreaking moment, as the sun set on their celebration, their hands intertwined with that of the newcomer, she smiled at the possibilities blooming amidst the shadows of doubt. Perhaps it's time to institutionalize our gathering, Sarah urged with excitement swelling through her heart. We can establish a support network, a way to keep these connections alive, to carry forth the joy from our losses. With an outpouring of affirmations from the crowd, that simple thought morphed into a beautiful mission, a commitment to keep Sophia's memory alive by supporting one another unconditionally, transcending individual pain into collective love. And as they stood together, enveloped by the warmth of newfound family, Sarah recognized that each person, holding each other's stories, became parts of an interwoven legacy that would endure and inspire. Together they discovered strength in their shared vulnerabilities, driving hope forward in the brightest of ways. The journey through grief would never be entirely over, yet here in this moment was the truth: they were never alone on the path to healing together. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support this incredible journey. Comment your thoughts and reactions about this emotional ending, and share your experiences too. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to show your support today. This is the moment. Don't wait not even one more second.